Okay, this video is for 9.9a, solving equations with fractional exponents, part 3. So, the last few days we looked at solving equations with fraction exponents, and we did that by raising both sides of the equation to the reciprocal of the exponent. We're going to do that today too, except for we're going to work with negative exponents and negative fractional exponents. Let's just start with number 1 though and talk about what the reciprocal will be. If you have a negative fraction, the reciprocal is still going to be negative, and then you just flip the fraction again. So the reciprocal of negative 3/2 is negative 2/3. And again, our goal is to multiply two fractions together to equal 1. And so when you look at multiplying the top two numbers and the bottom two numbers, 3 times 2 is 6, and 2 times 3 is 6, and then the negative times the negative makes it positive, and then 6 divided by 6 is 1. Alright, so let's work on solving. In problem number 4, we have x to the negative 3/2 equals 64. So for us to get x by itself, we need to raise both sides of this equation to the reciprocal of negative 3/2. The reciprocal of negative 3/2 is negative 2/3. So when we raise x to the negative 3/2 to the negative 2/3, the negative 3/2 and negative 2/3 cancel each other out. It leaves us with just x on the left, and it leaves us with 64 to the negative 2/3 on the right. Now, using our exponent rules that we've talked about over the last few weeks, when we have a number raised to a negative exponent, what we do is we drop that into the denominator of a fraction. So this is the same as 1 over 64 to the positive 2/3. And so then for our final answer, we need to figure out what 64 to the positive 2/3 is. So we're going to get x equals 1 over, and 64 to the positive 2/3 is 16. So the answer is x equals 1 over 16. Let's solve another one. Alright, we have x to the negative 5/2 equals 1 over 32. So for us to get x by itself, raise both sides of this equation to the reciprocal of negative 5/2, which is negative 2/5. Do that to both sides. The negative 5/2 and the negative 2/5 again cancel each other out, leaves us with just x on the left, and on the right we have 1 over 32 to the negative 2/5. Now, when we raise a fraction to an exponent, we've talked about how we need to raise both the denominator and the numerator, so the top and bottom, to that same fraction. So we can rewrite this as 1 to the negative 2/5 divided by 32 to the negative 2/5. And then we can get rid of the parentheses. Now, both the 1 and the 32 in our fraction are raised to negative exponents. So our rule with negative exponents is that if it's up top, we bring it down low, and if it's down on the bottom, we bring it up top. So we need to flip these. After doing that, we get 32 to the positive 2/5 up top, divided by 1 to the positive 2/5 down low. So our final answer will then be figuring out what those equal. Well, 1 to the positive 2/5 is just 1. So our bottom is going to be 1. And 32 to the positive 2/5 is 4. So we get x equals 4 over 1, or just x equals 4 as our final answer. Alright, let's flip. We'll do one more complicated one. So this is a two-step process. For us to solve for x, just like we did in the last video, we need to get the x term by itself. To get the x term by itself, we need to start by dividing both sides by 2. If we divide both sides by 2, we get x to the negative 5/3 on the left, and 64 divided by 2 is 32. And now we need to get x by itself, so we need to raise both sides of this equation to the reciprocal of negative 5/3. That would be negative 3/5. Negative 5/3 and the negative 3/5 cancel with each other, leaves us with just x. And then we have 32 to the negative 3/5. So now we have a number to a negative exponent again. So we need to drop that number into the denominator of the fraction. So it'll become 1 over 32 to the positive 3/5. And now our final answer is going to be whatever 32 to the positive 3/5 is. And that is 8. Final answer is x equals 1/8.